Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
the badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Like Mother, Like Murder.
Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 75.
75.
Yes.
5. Oh my gosh. It's our 75th episode. That's like a fun one. And oh my God, that means we're almost to 100.
Ooh, we getting there. We are getting there.
That's crazy.
What are we going to do for 100 episodes?
We have to start planning now.
We only have 25 more episodes to go.
Oh my God. That's pretty cray-cray. That is pretty cray-cray.
Have any of you guys been here the entire time?
I know we have some people who've been here the entire time. And shout out to you.
We dig those OGs.
Through all of it.
Yes. Through all of the chaos that has ensued. We don't know how you're here, but we love you for it. Oh, man. For those of you guys that have just joined, we also love you guys. Just on your way backwards, just remember who we are now, okay? Oh, man.
That's a good point.
Good point. Today, I have a crazy one for you today. And the first thing that I asked Heather when we logged on, you guys, was, do you know that name? Because, I mean, so here on Like Mother, Like Murder, we don't tell each other what it is that we're going to be bringing in each week. We typically go back and forth, and so far we have never ran into the problem. We have never got there where I've started recording. She's like, "Oh my gosh, that's the one I'm going to do." You know, we're pretty solid so far. That day will come. I'm sure of it. Yeah. But every single time I type the name in our recording platform, I wonder if she knows who it is, and also if she's also researching and typing up an episode on it as well.
So I think a few things save us. One, I'm horrible with names. So even the cases I've covered, sometimes the names just like elude me. And it's like the details of the case really that like I remember. And on top of that, I feel like you and I go for very different they're all crimes, and they're all, 99% of the time, right? Crime-related, obviously crime-related, mom-related. But I feel like past that, we have very different, styles of crimes that we choose.
Very true.
But I know, because we've been doing this for 75 episodes now, one day it will happen. But when I saw the name, it's ringing bells, but I could not tell you. So we will find out.
I'm going to tell you.
If I know anything about this case. And I'm excited. First, you have to tell people what you're drinking, because the face you're making when you drink it.
You guys want to see my face? So we actually recorded last night. Well, we didn't end up recording. We ended up having a fucking bestie fest. I don't know what you would call that.
Bestie fest.
But yeah, I had opened a bottle of wine. It was actually a 80% low carb, low calorie Sauvignon Blanc. And just now I have my ice water sitting here, and that's what I was going to have. But the wine's sitting there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pour a little bit of this. And as soon as Heather logged on, the face I made was just obviously priceless. She wanted you guys to see it. So I'll let you guys see my face. That goes like this.
Which is not face. Rachel doesn't make faces when she's drinking. It's not something she does. But that's why I know that this wine is something.
It definitely is not good. I'm going to go back to drinking my water.
I'm drinking water. I'm getting ready to fly back home.
Yes.
On one of my many, many trips. So I am hydrating today because whenever I get on those airplanes, I am just like, oof, oof.
You've been going. Going. That's for sure. That is for show. Well, if you're ready to get into this.
Oh, I'm so ready. I'm excited. I'm so excited because you have been telling me about this case. You've been telling me it's a doozy. So let's do the damn thing.
Let's do it. Here we go. Today, we are going to be talking about a beautiful mother of 3 who went missing in January of 2021. As we get into everything that this sad case has to offer, I want you to be made aware that this is still an open case. Maya's body has yet to be found. But her husband, Larry Millete, has been arrested for her murder and is going to be going on trial January of 2024. So in just a couple months,
right around the corner.
Of next year, yes, this trial will begin. And we will for sure be following along and bringing you updates as we hear them. At the same time, I'm positive that you guys, after hearing what I'm about to tell you, about the disappearance and possible murder of Maya Millete, you will be trying to find the answers yourself. Okay? So let's get into it. Maya Tabalanza was born May 1st of 1981. She was born to her parents Pablito and Naomi Tabalanza and was a Filipino-American woman.
I know this case!
Do you?
Yes.
Do you? Yeah.
Well, okay, so, like, I know like, headlines. I have not researched it, so I don't, like, know the case.
It's local. So this happens in California, which I'll get to. But, yeah, so she's a Filipino-American woman, born in the Philippines, but was actually raised in Honolulu, Hawaii. Maya or May. So, like, her family and friends call her May. Maya, probably, I don't know. Should I say Maya or May?
So here's the thing about Filipinos. I'm actually really surprised that May is her nickname by her family because usually the nickname that Filipinos give their family members have nothing to do with their real names. But that's interesting to me. Like I have an aunt whose name is Emily and her nickname growing up was Obladi. Like Obladi, Oblada. Yeah. And it doesn't. It makes it, who knows?
Right.
Who knows, right? But.
Well, we'll see what comes off my tongue.
Okay.
So, like I said, she was, well, I haven't said this, but she was a beautiful person inside and out. We're going to get into that. She was raised in Hawaii for the majority of like her youth and growing up. She ended up graduating high school from Admiral Arthur W. Radford High School, quite the name, and went on to attend and graduate from the University of Hawaii at Manoa. During her time in high school, Maya met a man named Larry Millete. They actually met at like a fast food joint where they were working. He had moved to Hawaii from the San Diego, California area. Him and his family had actually relocated there, trying to help Larry to kind of get a fresh start because he had actually had like a juvenile gang assault arrest. So they were getting him away from that life and trying to have him start over, which is what happened, right? So Maya and Larry ended up getting together. They ended up getting married after high school and they began living their lives together. At this time, Larry was serving in the United States Navy. As we fast forward through the majority of their marriage, because they're together nearly 20 years, so I'm just going to go boom, boom, boom. They get married. They end up moving to San Diego, California. Larry was serving in the Navy, like I mentioned. Maya worked as a civilian employee of the Navy, of the United States Navy, as a contract specialist for the Naval Information Warfare Center. Maya and Larry ended up having 3 children together. And from the outside looking in, over those, nearly 20 years, this family had everything going on, right? Good jobs, a beautiful family, all of the things. But as we mention way too often in the crime community, things are not always what they seem to be, looking from the outside in. Maya and Larry had started to have some problems in their marriage. And as I go through a lot of that, I want to mention that to me, this is only my opinion, it seems that Maya was done. I mean, yes, things point to her being done, okay? But this is just how I see it. She was checked out. She was ready to get a divorce and move on with her life separate from Larry. And Larry was not done. He was trying to do anything he could to keep Maya in his life or from her being able to move on. And that is where we will be getting into the details of Maya and the timeline of what happened before she went missing, the last day she was seen, and everything we know after the fact. January 7th of 2021 was the last day that anyone had seen Maya. Oh. She was 39 years old at the time. She was living at home with her husband, Larry, and their 3 children. And on this day, she had arrived home. It's seen on surveillance video. Like, I just think everyone has a Ring doorbell at this time, whatever. And she lived in Chula Vista. It was a very nice neighborhood, whatever. But she's seen getting home and parking outside on the street and going inside their home. Over the next day or two, this time in her life, she was actually planning a birthday trip for her oldest daughter. Her oldest daughter was going to be turning 11, and they were planning a trip to Big Bear Ski Resort because it's January, It's snowboarding season. So that is what's going on. There's a lot that comes with planning, right, when you're planning a birthday party. And something that we'll get into, like, Maya and her family was very, very close. And they were the people that talked all the time. They were always updating each other on things. It was just, that's the relationship that they had. So with that planning, people were trying to get a hold of her to ask her questions. And at these days when they should be receiving these messages back on the planning, they were not receiving anything back. There was no more communication at this point. So 2 days after not hearing from Maya, Maya's sister, Mary Chris, which they were very, very close. And throughout this entire conversation I'm going to have with you, throughout this entire time of Maya being missing, Mary Chris, like, my heart just, it's so sad. Anything like this is just so sad, but to see her and how hard and just all of it. Ugh. Okay. Ugh. So the sister is actually the one who ends up filing a missing persons report for her sister. Mary Chris and their family had become very worried because this was just not like her to go missing and to not be in communication with them. Like I said, they were close. They talked nearly every day, if not many times a day. So it was just very concerning that they hadn't been able to reach her. January 10th. I think I say this later on in this case, but, like, her brother ends up going to the house too, which I'll get to later, to check on her and see what's going on. And she doesn't come out of her room. And, so that's one of the things is that it's instant. It's instant of, we're not hearing from her. Where are you? Let me check on you. That. So January 10th, just a few days after the last known conversation with her, it's her daughter's birthday. And that's also my birthday. They end up having a get-together at the house. They don't go to Big Berry. And everyone's just desperately hoping that she's going to show up at the house, just walk through the door for her daughter's birthday, as if, maybe she had a moment and she needed to go have some time. And this is just their greatest hope at this point in life. Right. That she'll be there.
Like, if she can, she's making that happen. Like, she wouldn't miss this, so she's going to be here.
Correct.
Like, we have to hope that. Yeah.
Hello, twisted humans. Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you.
In 1952, there was a record high of UFOs reported. 1,500 sightings.
There has been evidence of human sacrifice, devil worship, and it is haunted by more spirits than can be counted.
A family of 2 adults and 2 kids reportedly saw a giant flying thing with glowing red eyes.
And meanwhile, the family's nanny that helped Veronica to care for her and Lucian's children was found bludgeoned to death in the basement of their family home. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
But it never happened. This day left the family even more concerned and now with a lot of questions as to what happened. And they immediately leap into action, beginning to hand out missing persons flyers and starting to work with the investigators.
So what question, and
Yes.
you might be getting ready to tell me this, but like, you've talked about her sister, you've talked about her brother, you've talked about her family. What the fuck is the husband doing at this point?
He's not. And I do get into it later. So he actually asked them to not go to the authorities in the beginning. So the first couple days, right. So the first couple days when she was not responding to the messages, he had said she was just locked in her room. They had gotten in an argument, which they were having a rough patch in their relationship, in their marriage. So his thing was, I'm giving her space. He was trying to tell the family, like, understand, she's going through it. I'm going through it. We're giving space. At the time of the birthday party, though, she had already been reported missing. She's not at the home. It's very clear she's not at the home. So she is declared a missing person. So even at this point, he is still not doing anything. He is not a part of passing out flyers. He's not a part of doing any of the active helping. And I get into the point, he says later on that it's because he was receiving threats immediately for his life. So he was saying that he didn't want to go out and be active in those searches because people were threatening his life at that point. We'll get there. One of Maya's friends and coworkers' husbands was actually a former criminal defense investigator, defense, for the Navy. And after hearing about Maya's disappearance, he wanted to help. So the next day after the birthday, January 11th, a few days after her last sighting or hearing, he went to the home, to Maya and Larry's home, to ask questions and should try to find anything out, that he could. Because at this point, he's either trying to help Maya, he's trying to help Maya and Larry, right? So it's all inclusive at this point. His name is Billy Little. And when he showed up to the home, he said that Larry seemed very unconcerned about the whereabouts of where Maya was. And I guess Larry had actually let him in to the home, probably knowing he worked for the Navy as well. Like I said, it's not very clear to me, at least. This was one of her friends and coworkers' husbands. So I'm kind of wondering, like, if he knew him even just a little bit, but he did know that he worked for the Navy. It was on his badge
my
and
guess
everything.
is like, Susan's husband also used to work for the Navy. And so it's like, at the very least, like, they knew each other, probably like worked for the Navy, if not actually had like worked together in some capacity. Yeah. Okay.
So, like I said, he had let him in, and maybe it was just the fact that he was trying to not be suspicious. But either way, Little said that on this day, there were concerning things.
Oh, no.
The first thing that he said is that it seems that Larry was trying to air out the house. He said, so it's January, the windows are open, and the air conditioner is on. He said it was very cold in the house. Yes, it's California, right? So sometimes
but you
January,
don't
you be getting certain days.
January, I will be the first to say I've flown windows open in January, especially like midday, like let some like fresh air in, but I'm not also running my friggin' air conditioner. You don't, it's San Diego. You're not running your air conditioner. Like, come on.
You're not. And also, like, you're on the coast at that point. I'm assuming that breeze is just fine.
Yeah. I mean, Chula Vista is a little bit inland, but it's still San Diego. It's still nice-ass weather. Like, you're not... And you're not running the air conditioner while the windows are open, period, ever. Don't do that.
Yeah. No. No, you don't.
And if you want to do that...
You didn't run the air ever.
I was going to say, like, if you want to do that, then why don't you, like, give me all the money that you're spending on your freaking air conditioning bill for running it? Like...
So that was just one of the things that he noticed. Another thing, like on top of this, there was actually a hole when he was doing like a search of the home. There was a hole in the wall around the bedroom door frame near the handle. So this hole had actually just been freshly like refinished, like repaired. Yeah. And when he asked Larry about it, he said that Maya had actually punched the hole in the wall. Little said that he knew that Larry didn't make the report of his wife. Like, at this point, he knew he wasn't the one to make the report of his wife. So he had asked him about that. And he said that, you know, he's like, she needed time, she needed space. But this just made it very suspicious for him as well. Yeah. So to me, it was very, very, like, I think Little, as he went into this home, had this preconceived notion of, like, what he was going in there. But, you know, maybe try to stay a little open-minded to try to find answers. Sure. Another thing, while he was there, though, he was trying to search for any sort of, like, defensive wounds. So he went in there with a game plan as, you know, a criminal defense person in the past. And he didn't see any, right? But overall, from that visit, he just did not get a good feeling.
Right.
Whatsoever.
Vibes were off. Vibes were off.
Air was on. During this time, searches are taking place. Press conferences are happening. Interviews are happening. Pleas for help. And it's all mainly with Maya's family because Larry was not really being a part of any of these things because of those supposed threats that were happening, which I think is full of shit. Yeah. In my opinion, because if your wife's missing, you go out and you look for her. End of story. Yeah. Like, that's what it is. That's what you do. Let me recap quickly. So January 7th is when she had first gotten home. January 8th through the 10th is when people were looking for her, searching for her, whatever. So now we move on to January 23rd. A search warrant was issued for Larry and Maya's home. And during this search, they were trying to find anything that could lead to answers, right? And although there was not anything like a 100% fact that a crime had been committed in the home, the detectives end up seizing multiple guns that were owned by Larry, both registered and unregistered. As time went by and the investigators are digging and trying to find answers, a search group called Help Find Maya, which I will post stuff in the show notes. If you would like to right now as you're listening to this, go on Instagram. You can follow this. They still, every single week, hold a prayer vigil, and it is ran by the family and friends, and it's just something that is still happening, and it needs to continue to happen. So I want anyone who is listening to this to go and do that immediately. Keep her name out there until everything is answered and
justice is served.
Exactly. So that group was formed, and they were out every single weekend searching any area that they could to try to find Maya. Billy Little was also working hard to find answers and find anything he could to help bring Maya home or bring justice for her. One thing that he found in March of 2021, just 2 short months after Maya had went missing, absolutely blew my mind. You ready for this?
No.
Little said that he found evidence that Larry was purchasing spells online in attempts to have Maya fall back in love with him. Yeah, your face. He actually Google searched talked to, and then paid for someone to try to hex his wife into falling back in love with him. Go ahead. Go off.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't even know where to freaking start. Okay.
I'm going to tell you some of the things he even asks them to do.
Look.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Look.
Mm-hmm.
I will be the first to say, whatever your beliefs, you can pray for it. You can pray for someone to fall back in love with you. You can use Wicca. You can use your hexen. You can do all of that. But first of all, you know, to each their own. Not something my mind is like in fucking, okay. First of all, to each their own. If that's your religion and your belief, you do you, boo. Like, I'm all for it. But I have always drawn the line at any religion, whether it be hexy, mexy, hexings, whatever's, voodoo, whatever you want to call it, at trying to
force something to, like, someone to do something that they don't want to do.
What
like,
the fuck is that?
Even a genie knows that they can't wish for love. Like, I mean,
I know. I mean, come on. Did you not watch Aladdin
Seriously.
growing up, dude? Like, what is this?
Well, I will tell you, not all of it is lovey-dovey. So let me tell you, he tried a couple times. You know, to ask for her to fall back in love, for them to rekindle what they had. And when that didn't work, he eventually emailed the spellcaster and asked for something else.
Oh, no.
Here is what Larry asked for. And I quote, "Please punish May and incapacitate her enough so she can't leave the house. It's time to take the gloves off." Okay. So
and what was the spellcaster's response? Was the spellcaster like, yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, I feel like that is your job. That is your job to report any sort of stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
that's not cool.
I don't know the, I don't want to say integrity. I don't know the validity behind this.
Is there like an
website.
oath that spellcasters take, like that they're not allowed? So there's like two things here. Like, are they like a priest where you're not allowed to tell authorities someone's confession, or are they more like a psychologist who like has a HIPAA thing that they're not allowed to talk about their clients unless there's like an imminent danger? Or is there not a society of ethical obligations for spellcasters?
Je ne sais. I will say he does try going to a priest. He does try going to Maya's family. He literally tries everything.
I mean, props to you, dude, for trying, but like you need to draw the line.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know this is not concrete evidence that he had anything to do with the disappearance or possible murder.
I'm sorry, but what he asked the spellcaster to do is a threat.
Yeah.
At the very least, there's evidence that he threatened bodily incapacitation on her.
Yep. And that's exactly what I say. And it only continues from there.
Oh my God, that's the craziest thing.
So more time goes by, and in May of 2021, they go back to Larry and Maya's house, and all of his firearms are surrendered at this point. The picture of the table in their home with all of the guns and everything reminds me of like a scene out of The Godfather. Like, this dude, he definitely had some guns. I'm not saying anything about that, whatever. But keep them registered. Keep them legal. Anyways, those were taken at this time because he was served with a gun violence restraining order. Not long after that.
Quick question.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. No,
quick
it's okay.
question. Where are the 3 kids at this point? Are they still living with him? Are they currently with her family?
No, at that point, they actually were still with him. And that is one of the reasons that they were getting these guns out of there and why they were working towards moving things as quickly as they possibly could. So
Right. Okay.
Obviously, you always want things to happen a little quicker, especially when children are involved. They were with him. Not much longer after, though. Not much long after. Because a few months later, October 19th of 2021, Larry Millete was actually arrested for the possible murder of his wife, Maya.
You said May 15.
October 19th. May 15th is when they took the guns.
The guns.
That's when they went in and they seized everything. They are putting things together, right? So, which I'm going to get into. So, I kind of give you some stuff and then I kind of go backwards.
Okay, and then October 19th, he is arrested.
Is when he is arrested.
Okay.
And, of course, he pleads his innocence and states that Maya left willingly and abandoned the family. Okay? That's what he says. An entire year goes by since the last sighting of Maya, and the family, friends, strangers near and far are all still searching for Maya as if it's day one. January of 2022, they had raised more than $50,000 in search efforts, as well as they hold their rallies, their prayer vigils to keep the community involved and continue to look for this beautiful missing mother. Okay. 2022, more answers of motive begins to come out. Maya's family was very vocal from the beginning that Maya and Larry were having issues in their marriage. Like I mentioned at the top of this episode, it seemed that Maya was trying to get out and Larry was doing anything he could, including spells and hexes.
Literally anything he could.
Literally anything. The last day that she had been seen on January 7th, she had actually called and set up an appointment with a divorce lawyer for the following Tuesday. One thing I would like to add right here, because this conversation needs to happen as often as possible, because if it helps anyone at all, that is one of our goals here, is that I heard that 75% of domestic violence victims are harmed when they're trying to leave, right?
Yeah.
Leaving is so hard. It is scary, and that is because, as we talk about it way too often, people are willing to do these god-awful things to people because they feel like they have the power over them. They feel like they have the control, or whatever it is they believe, and it's absolutely a disgusting thing. If you are someone who is struggling, know that we love you, and we hope that you do everything that you can to take your power back. The domestic abuse hotline number is 1-800-799-7233 if you need it. There are resources online and people who are willing to help you. By no means do we think it is easy, but we just want anyone who is a victim of this abuse to know that they have options. Okay? It'll all be sourced in the show notes and on our website, socials, all of that.
I just got chills thinking about that. It's so hard, right? And it makes it that much more scary if you are a person in a situation like this where you hear, you know, she'd been dealing with it. She'd been dealing with it. And then the day that she calls someone is the last day she's heard from. Right. And that's scary as fuck.
Yes, it is.
And makes it all the more difficult for people in those situations to like get to a point where they're like, I need to do something, because if they already weren't worried about the consequences of taking action, I mean, things like this, but you know, it's something that for a lot of women, and clearly for Maya, like she felt she needed to do for herself, for her children, you know, for her life. And, you know, we see that all too often, and that's rough. And so I'm really glad that you're, you know, you're adding in, Rachel, the importance of that, the support that we have here at Like Mother, Like Murder for that, and the resources that are available.
Right. And I mean, how you said it, you know, she made that call. She was ready to leave and make that change, and she wasn't given that opportunity because that was the last call that she made. Fuck. Looking at that phone evidence, the last form of communication on Maya's part, she actually shared like a Facebook ad to a family member. in the evening of the 7th. And then as of 1:25 a.m. on January 8th, her phone goes dark and there's no more activity whatsoever. As if some of the things I have mentioned about Larry are not damning enough, let me get into a few more things that don't seem coincidental in my opinion. Larry's employer ended up coming forward, and it came out that Larry did not show up to work when he was scheduled when Maya had went missing, or the days following. What was he doing? Larry had actually texted his boss saying that pretty much like he was going through it and struggling. He had said that he needed time. He was really like not in a good head place, all of that. And on January 8th, the day that no one heard from Maya, it was actually Larry's third consecutive day of missing work. January 8th, Larry tells the investigators when he was questioned that he actually, he ended up leaving his house to take him and his 4-year-old were going to go have a beach day to give Maya some space because they had been having those problems, right? So he's, of course, making it seem as if he's doing the right thing, giving her that space because of the issues. So he tells investigators, this is kind of like his alibi, that him and his 4-year-old leave to go to the beach on the 8th. He made it very clear to Maya's family and the investigators when she was first reported missing that Maya had gotten mad and she locked herself in the room on the 7th, and that he hadn't seen her or spoken with her whatsoever to respect that space. And that is why he ended up deciding to go take his kid to the beach, go. Okay. Well, guess what? There's video footage of him backing his Lexus into the driveway enough to load stuff in the back before leaving that morning. We've seen this on other cases. It's never a good sign. He said that the reason that because of course when they pulled the video footage, he's far enough into the garage that you can't see what is being loaded. Yeah. He said that he was putting a cooler in the back. To me, that makes it just takes more time to back the car into there than walk it out to the car. You guys know what my stance is on this. Just it's shady. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah. Let's get into more of it. Larry and his son that day left for 11 hours. And when asked where he went, he told them he went to Solana Beach, which was only 4 miles from their place. But they weren't able to trace it because his cell phone was turned off until 6:34 p.m. Your face.
Okay, so a few things. The first and foremost, if I had to spend 11 straight hours out in public with my 4-year-old, I would be broken. I love my daughter, but 11 hours out with a 4-year-old is a lot. So
on the beach?
Yeah.
Which 4-year-old is going to sit on the beach for 11 hours?
Yeah, that's not fucking happening. My daughter loves the beach. She could play in sand all day. That's still not happening. Second, you're out with your child at a beach and your phone is off, knowing that your wife, supposedly, is allegedly at home with space, like da-da-da-da. Wouldn't you want to keep all lines of communication open just in case? Like, you needed that line of communication? Okay.
Yeah. Those are my exact thoughts, too. The fact, you just don't do these things. No. You just don't do these things. No. So again, this same day, I had mentioned it briefly earlier, Maya's brother had went to the house to check on her. It was Maya's daughter who actually let him in. And she had said, Mom has been in her room all day. When he went up there to check on her, she never answered the bedroom door, all of that. And that's ultimately, those conversations start happening. And that's when Mary Chris decides it's time to make that phone call and, get that missing persons reported.
It's so hard because, we don't know. Like, maybe that was her style, like, when she was in a bad place, like, to, like, remove herself from the situation. And, you know, her daughter was turning, you said, like, 11, right? So, like, okay, like, but, like, so many things run through my mind. Like, if that was a family member of mine, even if it is your style to, like, remove yourself, like, your daughter's only 11. She needs some kind of supervision, especially if her fucking father is out for 11 fucking hours. Like, you're 11, you whatever. Second, I would not leave, like, maybe it's her style, but, like, me, I might have, like, busted down the fucking door. Yeah. Or at least said, you need to make a single sound so I know that you're in there and okay, and I'll leave. Right. But you need to let me know that that's okay. But again, maybe this was her style. Like, maybe they're used to her having to just, like, shut down, because that's definitely the way some people cope. Yeah. But, like, that's rough. That's hard. But I'm glad that she had a family member that went over there and then reported back to other family members and was like, doesn't seem right to me. Yeah. And then the family members, you know, made that action.
I don't think it was her style. I think they knew that. The other thing, like, when you're mentioning on the kids, yeah, so the 11-year-old was the oldest. That means the other one's younger, and they're both there. I'm sorry, my daughter is only 8. There is not a chance she would let me be in my room for 20 minutes without trying to bust the door down. So these two girls, there's no way that they're not going to be needing something or wondering or questioning what's going on.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
So as a mother, you're going to come out of that room, whatever fucking funk or whatever moment you're having, you're going to come out and tend to those needs, because that's what you do as a mother.
Yeah, so, and that's heartbreaking for those kids, because if it's not her style, like, they're sitting there going, like, what the fuck, you know? Like, fuck, that sucks.
At the time that Larry was arrested, the detectives had wrote more than 67 search warrants. They had conducted over 80 interviews. They explored more than 130 tips over the course of the 9 months. So they were doing stuff, okay?
Yeah.
And although Maya's body had remained missing, the reasoning for, you know, his arrest in the first place is that, you know, by the law, it's very clear about filing a murder charge is that you could still do that in the absence of a body when you have all of these things, okay? So they already knew that back then. But now, at this point, after he was arrested, it was just time to find more and put everything together.
Right. They have enough evidence to arrest him, but they still need to continue to find evidence in order to make a conviction. Exactly.
Correct. So, the following January, so it's like she went missing in January. He you know, 9 months later, October, he's arrested. Then 2 years later, January 2023, this year, he was deemed mentally competent to stand trial by a psychiatrist, which allows the case to move forward.
Despite him trying to cast spells on his wife.
Yeah, I'm sure that was one of the things that they were looking into, but they could tell that he was totally just fine. He had his preliminary hearing in San Diego, and it was long, because it was on the 10th day, which, like I said, not very common for a preliminary
hearing. Yeah, that's crazy.
But the judge ended up ruling that, you know, they're moving forward and he is going to be standing trial. Okay. Which, as I said, will be happening January of 24.
Oh my God.
We will be getting into that, whatever. But now, I'm not done. There's a lot more coming. I want to bring you just a few more things that have came up, and this is one of the things that to me is just like such a tell. Okay. And this is probably like the hardest thing for me to think of, and I will say right now, I have not seen any interviews. I have not seen anything with the children, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. But the night of January 7th, the night that he said Maya locked herself in the room because they were fighting, you know, after she called the divorce lawyer earlier that day, there's video of Maya and Larry's kids playing outside at 10:30 p.m. There's also a video that was brought forward of that night around the same time, around 10 p.m., 10:30, in that time frame, was what sounded to be like gunshots. 6 bangs, 5 first, then you hear dogs barking, and finally a 6th. And this was caught on surveillance in the Milliete's neighborhood by one of the surveillance cameras. So instantly my head goes to a fight, right? Like I see it two ways, where he either shoots Maya and then sends the kids out to go play while he's trying to figure out what to do with her body, or he sends the kids out to play and then he decides he's going to go in there, kill her, and dispose of her body. You don't do this ever.
Yeah.
But to know that there's children here, and how could you not hear that? How could you not hear that? How do you not know? And maybe it was one of those things. I heard this in one of the podcasts that I was listening to, and I resonate with this feeling. Like the way that she explained this just broke my heart. I just cried. She was saying that you really don't know. We don't know the exact circumstances of this night, but she goes, who knows if they were fighting? They had said that they have been fighting and fighting and fighting this entire time, and they've been having this rough patch. So who knows if that older sister was the one to say, come on, let's go outside,
fuck.
And tried to take her out there. And
at 11 years old, and not even 11. She hadn't turned 11 yet, right?
No.
Like she was still 10.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my heart is
shattered.
breaking.
Yeah.
I just hate, it's already like, things are so hard when, okay, so we've seen this, we've covered cases like this where, kids are in the house, in the vicinity, when, shit like this goes down. I mean, we covered, Rachel, what's the name?
Who are you talking about?
The motherfucker.
Watts?
Yes, okay. Watts. I couldn't remember the last name.
I didn't know which
and I always say her name wrong. I was like Shanann.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Shanann. And then, if you guys haven't listened to it, go over to Twisted and Uncorked, because we also covered Crystal McDowell, which was a similar situation where they got in a fight. Kids were in the house. And the testimony from the daughter is, fuck. Yeah. And in this one, it's like the same idea. It's like heartbreaking knowing that like these kids are going to have to grow up knowing that was like that happened like in their house.
Yep.
Fuck. I hate that so hard.
Me too.
Damn.
Yeah, it is awful. And yeah, either way, with all of that, I want to talk to you. So Larry Millete, he was one who, he wasn't active in searches. He wasn't going out and trying to find his wife, all of that kind of stuff. And it wasn't until September of this year, 2023, that Larry had his first interview, public interview, really.
Yeah.
NBC7 News out of San Diego, they had this interview with him, and in this interview they asked him many questions, and I'm going to touch on a few of the questions, but I highly recommend you go and watch it or listen to it yourself. They have it on their San Diego podcast. You can go listen to it. I will source it in the show notes if you want to go read it. But they talked to him about motive. That's one of the things that they bring up, and the fact that it came out that Maya had actually cheated on Larry. Oh. And at the time of her disappearance, it was done. They weren't anymore, but Larry knew about it, and that she was planning on divorcing him. This was the motive, right? He says no. He says that he actually had no knowledge of her calling and setting up the appointment with the divorce lawyer. He didn't know about that. But we do know that he did know about the affair because when I said he was paying a spellcaster, remember when I said he was paying a spellcaster to cast spells on his wife to fall in love with him? So he was saying things like, make her realize that we are meant to be with each other. Make her miserable without him. Make her want to sleep on the same bed for all eternity with me. Oh. And then also the part about incapacitating her, okay? But right after, and I mean right after Maya went missing, Larry told the spellcaster to stop hexing Maya, and he wanted them to cast spells onto Jamie, which is the man that Maya had an affair with, okay? Her coworker.
Stop it.
He was very well aware that that was going on. Just trying to point that out, okay? Yeah. Larry, I'm going to get into a couple more crazy things right now as well. Because, like I said, this trial, when we get into it, all of this is going to come out. This is crazy. Larry ended up planting a cell phone in Maya's vehicle to track her moves.
Oh, my God.
He was actually able to log into every single one of her social media accounts and emails and track whatever she was doing at any given time he wanted to. Another thing that came out is that Larry had also tried to do some sort of hypnosis over Maya. Heather, he got a recorder and was playing subliminal messages for her while she was sleeping.
What?
Yes. Yep. Fully slowed down subliminal stuff so that when she's sleeping, she's having this played in her head. She ended up finding the device and she told the family about it, right? So people knew these things were happening. Okay? This makes me want to punch. So many things make me want to punch him in his face. The interviewers end up asking him why he wasn't sad or upset about his wife being missing. And he told them that, military, the Navy taught him how to kind of like hide that. And he goes through different trainings for that kind of stuff, right? And that even though he does have feelings, he won't show them because he doesn't want to embarrass his kids. Because if he sheds tears, that would be embarrassing to his kids. What about finding out that their father murdered their mother?
Fuck? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would rather see my dad, who I don't think I've ever seen my dad cry in my life. I would rather see my dad sniffle and straight up snot coming out of his nose and crying like a baby than to ever think like that he wasn't feeling emotion about my mom. You know what I mean?
I'd be embarrassed to know that you're not feeling the way that I'm feeling. And those kids are crying. Those kids are heartbroken. Those kids are probably trying to be consoled by him. And maybe there's a way, I can't give him any source of credit whatsoever, but like trying to be strong for his kids. No.
I mean,
no.
I get trying to be strong for your kids. I understand that you need to be a rock for them, but like that again, it doesn't mean that you're not also showing, because you need to also show your kids that it's okay to have no, that's just all wrong. That's all wrong.
It's all wrong. In this interview, the majority of the questions asked about spellcasters, about his alibi, about the affair, about so many things, he responds saying that it will all come out during the trial and it will all be clear then.
Okay.
Lastly, I will end on the interview, or lastly, the thing I'm going to end on in the interview is Larry asked the interviewers more than once, because there is no TV in prison, do people portray him as a monster? Yes.
Yeah,
yes, they really do. But I think that's one of those things that you see. Well, first of all, why would you be asking that? Second of all, why do you care about your perceived image? Like, all of those things, everything points to you. Okay?
Yeah, that's very narcissistic of you. This interview should be, if you really are innocent and not guilty, you use that opportunity to ask. If you don't have TV and you can't, have no link to the outside world, you use that opportunity to ask, do you know what's happening with the case? Like, are there any leads on my wife? Are my kids okay? Like, are people still searching for her? Like, what's the consistent? You don't ask about yourself.
Nope.
You self-centered, narcissistic mother.
Yeah. So with all of that said, trial is currently set to begin January 16th. I will be completely engulfed in this trial.
Yeah.
I'll be watching to see what happens, and I will let you guys know. I did want to actually touch on this too, because I know that we all think about the children and we all wonder what's going on with them. They are in the care of their paternal grandparents, so his parents.
Okay.
And Maya's family does have visitation to see them as well.
Okay,
so they are being cared for, and they are, hopefully in really good hands. With all of this going on, but it still comes down to the fact that this is a lot on them. Their mom is missing, and their dad is probably going to be going to prison for life, and that kills me for any child ever. But
the one thing
that's what we know, girl.
Yeah, okay. It's just really quickly.
Yeah.
The one thing that makes me happy about that, in terms of the kids being with his parents, like, because we know that sometimes like that isn't the most ideal, but what it made me think of is his parents straight up moved out of state to try to help their child and give him a fresh start and do whatever the family could to give him an opportunity. And so that makes me I just got goosebumps. That makes me happy. It makes me feel like those grandparents, despite what's going on, they've got good intentions and everything like that. And the fact that, the Maya's family is still seeing them, also a very positive, because we've seen things go not positively in that situation. I mean, look at the fucking
time.
I'm sure, there has to be a lot of stuff, and it's hard, all of those situations, but I'm glad that that's the way it is. And I just hope for the sake of those kids that they just continue to have a village around them, especially, knowing that this doesn't look fucking good. Right. No. So, oh my gosh, Rachel, that's crazy. So it's so crazy. So as soon as you said like a Filipino woman and then you started talking about San Diego, I was like, I do remember this. Yeah. I just remember like from a couple years ago, just the idea that I didn't hear about it when she went missing. I don't think. I just remember hearing about it when he was arrested. So that is crazy. That feels so close to home. I mean, a Filipino-American woman, Chula Vista, who we have family down in Chula Vista, and just like that hurts my heart. Oh, God, just thinking about those poor kids. I just hope answers. Like, I hope we get answers. And I hate that she's still missing.
Yeah. Well, I will say one of the things in the interview is he didn't seem opposed to like a plea deal. Because the way that he made it seem like in this interview is like, y'all do, he's saying like he's going to do whatever he needs to do to see his kids or whatever, but it just doesn't give me faith that there's going to be answers on, the truth coming out.
Yeah.
I guess is what to say. And it's really sad because you just want the truth at this point. Yeah. You want to know what happened and all of that.
I think he knows, though, that's what's hard, is he knows that if he gives, we've seen this before where they say, hey, we won't give you a freaking death sentence. I mean, California right now doesn't have it. Well, they do, but it's like a moratorium on it or whatever it's called. But where it's like, tell us where just tell us where she is and we will, you know, make it to where you know, change whatever sentence or whatever. But I think he also knows, like, if he does admit to that, he will probably never see his fucking kids ever again. Right? Because not only will, like, yeah, you, first of all, not only should that be allowed, but second of all, like, his kids, fuck that, right? Like, because then you're admitting, right, that, you know, and so, it sucks.
You know, reading everything, listening to everything I could listen to, the amount of people, you know, from Nancy Grace to literally everything I could listen to. So many of these podcasts actually start, and I encourage you guys to go look up Maya Millete. And not only is she truly just beautiful and seemed like someone who was driven and passionate and caring and all of these things, but she, you know, she was very outdoorsy. She loved being a mother. Like she owned a Jeep, girl. I want to own a Jeep. She was doing the damn thing. But the point of what I'm trying to get to is she was very like, she would sing and she could play guitar, and she has so many videos out there of her just singing and just her voice being so beautiful and just very like soothing, and it just breaks my heart. So that is the case.
Oh,
and
Rachel,
I will
that's a doozy. Like you said, I don't think I was prepared for that one. I'm usually not when you bring up these unsolved ones. I die.
No, we need to talk about these missing moms.
We do. You're right. These ones are so important because say her name. You know, we have to make sure that these cases get the you know, no one will ever forget, and it's and keep fighting for it. And so I'm just never prepared. They're rough, and I'm just so proud that my lovely co-host, that you do the damn thing. You did a great job. Thank you. In your COVID-ridden state, you still killed it, brought it.
Got to do the damn thing for her and for her family and for her children. You guys, I do want to just say one more time, go follow Help Find Maya. Any way that, you know, if you're able to support or to share or to do anything to help in the investigation, anyway, like, yeah. For Maya, for any of the missing moms. And if you have any,
I mean, we have a lot of California listeners, right?
Yep.
We have a lot of California listeners. So if you know, and so it is not outside the realm of possibility that someone may have a connection. One of our listeners may have a connection to this case. If you know anything, you need to say something. We say this all the freaking time.
You say something.
If you know anything, even as small as you may think it may be, it could be exactly what's needed, right? To make sure that Maya and her family and her children get the justice that is deserved. We have a lot of listeners in SoCal, a lot of listeners in the San Diego area. So if you know something, even if you think it's small, you need to come forward. You need to come forward and you need to help, because that's what this family deserves. For sure.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'll be bringing that to you, Heather.
Damn.
As much as I can, because they need that.
Good job, Rachel. That was crazy.
And that is one of the things we are here for. Again, if you're someone who is a victim to anything like this, please be sure to check out those resources. Keep your head up and do anything you can to take care of yourself. All right? Yeah. We love you, and we will talk to you guys next week. Alrighty?
Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
right, I think I hacked in. We're on the air? Shh, security's outside. But how's my hair? It's a radio station. Psst, psst. You guys hear about the Beyond the Shadows podcast with Ryan and Scott? You guys into paranormal? What about true crime? How about UFOs and cryptids? We also have mad hauntings. We got security. No, we don't. We're not big enough to need it yet. No, we got security.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Get out of here! Listen to the Beyond the Shadows podcast. Beyond the Shadows!